Welcome to It Is What It Is, a true crime podcast. I'm your host, Shamari. How is everybody's Monday? Did you miss me? Been gone for about 2 weeks. I was super sick, and for like a freaking week I thought I was gonna die. And I had to take off work because I work at Walmart, so obviously you can't come to work when you're sick. Protecting the public and whatnot have yous. Yeah, I'm a hero. Anyway, and so I was like, you know what, I'll record. And then that podcast I listened to, that Jeff and Greg one, I laughed my ass off when I first listened to it. They were like, oh, because before they obviously put a face to the name or whatever. The one guy, Greg's like, oh, watch it be like the new Adam Sandler show on Netflix where Shaq is the radio host, and he has this very beautiful woman voice, but it's Shaq. And I couldn't stop fucking laughing at myself. So I couldn't record. And then I couldn't get it out of my head, and I'm like, I sound like a dude. And not even like a cute dude who just hit puberty or something like that. No. It was like I smoked for 50 years and had a horrible voice. So, while being at home on my deathbed, aka the flu, I watched a ton of TV. Duh. That's what you do when you're sick. And I watched the show called Sasquatch on Hulu. It's a Hulu original. So I'm not sure if you have to have a special package or not. I have the live TV one, so I don't know. Anyway. And I watch anything and everything Bigfoot. If you mention Bigfoot, I'm watching it. And it involves all three of my favorite things. So it involves Bigfoot, pot, marijuana or cannabis, and murder. And so I was like, okay, Hulu, get out of my mind. And then I clicked play. And everybody was after I finished it too, a bunch of people were like, oh, have you seen this? And I was like, just finished it, Spanx. It's like a contest, honestly, for people to be like, ooh, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Because I'm like, I have. If y'all even knew how much time of my life I've wasted watching things about people getting raped, murdered, tortured, kidnapped, and whatever have you, it's probably very troubling. Anyway. And I live in Idaho. And in Idaho is where one of the biggest, he is the biggest in his game. He works in Pocatello at the university, and he is the one who verifies the Bigfoot tracks. So we have him. And so this writer, his name's David, does the show. And he's done a bunch of other pieces. He's done he does undercover stuff where he went undercover in the Aryan Brotherhood. He was a drug smuggler once. He himself has a story, his own story, where he was molested when he was 7, and he hunted down the guy and was gonna kill the guy, and wrote a whole thing on that thing. I haven't read it. Anyway, so he tells this story where in 1993, in the 90s, obviously, he goes to the Emerald Triangle. And that's up by, I guess, I've never been, Humboldt County and all the all those places up there in Northern California and Oregon and all that fun shit where they grow pot. And back then in the 90s, it was hardcore, right? It wasn't like it is now. You weren't doing it to go to a dispensary or whatever. You were hood ratting it. Back in the backwood, And so he tells this story on how one time in the 90s, he was on this pot farm. He knew this guy who knew a guy who knew a guy. So he goes to the pot farm. And while he's there, the guy who owns the pot farm is rolling joints. And he gets a phone call. And he's like, yeah, for sure. Nah, dude. No. You good? Calm him down. All right. Anyway, so then next thing you know, like a couple, I don't know how long later. Anyway, some tweakers come in the door and they start freaking the fuck out. And they're telling this guy they're dead. They're ripped up, like body parts are everywhere. All this stuff. And he hears the guy say that Bigfoot did it. Like a Bigfoot did it. Like the weed's all there. And he was like, he said it was one of those situations where he just wanted to disappear in the couch. And he's like, I don't know what it is about me, but criminals, like, they come to me. Shady people feel welcomed around me. Which is weird, because, like, I'm the same. Like, criminals love me. Like, I don't know why, but I have an understanding, they have an understanding, and I think we just come in the middle. You know, I have a respect for them, they got a respect for me in a weird way. And if you don't know that feeling where you're in a room and the temperature literally changes. Like when something shady or like something crazy fucking is going on and you don't want everybody else in the room to know, and like there's like shady characters, literally the atmosphere around you changes. And if you've never been in that situation, God bless ya. If you have, you know what I'm saying? Like you want to grab a hoodie and be like, ooh, bitch, it's cold. So he says that that's what happened. Like the atmosphere changes. And so he's like, oh, weird. And when those guys leave, the guy that runs the pot farm was like, oh, that was weird. And everybody laughs it off. Ha, ha, ha. And they just go, right? And he had been this was a friend's farm. And so he had been at the farm for a couple of days beforehand. And so before this happened. So he had a chance to go out and like work with the people on the farm and everything else. And all of those people were like, bro, don't go near the wood line. You're going to piss off the Bigfoot. We should name him Jim. We're going to piss off Jim. He'll throw a rock at you. He might kill you, kidnap you, eat you, whatever have you. Don't piss off Bigfoot Jim. And so he leaves, right? And he goes on with this other crazy life that he led. Like, obviously, he goes and does all these amazing stories and has this adventurous life. Well, in the back of his head, it always stuck with him, right? Because it's fucking Bigfoot and, like, murder. And he never, at a party, it wasn't, like, the first thing he would bring up, like, oh, you guys want to hear about this? He would always talk about one of his other things. Which, obviously, the dude has 1 million. So, it's always been in the back of his head. So, now he's doing the show. And there's only 3 episodes. They're, like, 44 minutes long a piece. They are so good. Like, so good. They're, like, they go talk to legit Bigfoot hunters. Like, squatchers. And, oh my God, if anybody in Idaho goes Bigfoot hunting, please get a hold of me, because I want to go with you. I just want to go. Oh, I want to go. Like, if you've never been in the woods, and I'm not talking like you pull your RV up and there's cement and you park and plug in your camper, okay? You're not in the woods. You're at an RV park. So I'm talking like backwood, in the woods, in the mountains. I dated this guy for a very long time. He was much older than me. And he had this crazy crackhead uncle who was a fucking who. Anyway, this dude knew people who literally lived behind a big rock in a house. Like, that was the direction. And so you'd go up in the backwoods. And so it was scary. And, like, I don't know, like, when you go back there, you're a different type of person. You don't think like me and you, like normal people, okay? Like, in the woods, especially when you're alone, or even awake alone, usually my story is I'm just awake alone. I'm usually with other people, but you get the sense that, like, you're truly, I don't know. Maybe it's my hope that I'm like, oh, I hope I see a Bigfoot. I want my James Patterson moment. But, I don't know. So anyway, and he's talking about how it's up in the backwood. And he's calling there. I guess there was another guy there. The other guy that was there, he was like, yeah, bro, I remember the story. I'll call around. I'll find some people. And so he gets a hold of this guy named Razor. Razor's done a bunch of time. He never snitched. Solid bro. He was growing pot up there back in the 90s. And he was brought up by the Hells Angels. And so obviously he has a coat of armor. Solid motherfucker. This guy I would trust with my life without even knowledge, like without even questioning it. Just from his background. And it was followed up by other criminals. Like, this guy called around, all other criminals were like, he's solid. And if you have a whole bunch of criminals telling you you got a solid guy, you got a solid guy. Let him do your taxes. Anyway, so he is like, he calls him up and he's like, yeah, bro, you talking about those fucking 3 Mexican dudes who got tore apart by that Bigfoot up in 93. And the guy's like, I am. So he's like, tell me what you remembers. So obviously that's what he remembers. He remembers at that time, back in the 90s, the war on marijuana was very, very strong. They spent a lot of time ruining people's livelihoods, the government did, and tearing down their pot farms, ripping up their plants. Just destroy and conquer was like the motto of the day. And so Razor's like, yeah, bro, I remember thinking, like, I already got enough shit going on, having to worry about the law coming, and now all these people are like, bro, you better fucking watch out for them Bigfoot. So I guess these plants would get these pot plants would get freakishly tall, and something would come and snap the bud off the top of the plant. Like, there's like a flower thing. I'm not 100. I've never grown pot. I just smoke a lot of it. I don't know. So I guess there's like a bud on the top, and Bigfoot would come and like snap it and eat it and get high. There's even one guy on there who says the reason they smell musky is because that's when the Bigfoot ladies are on their periods and in that moon cycle and are looking to fuck. Could be true. Who knows? Anyway, Razor's like, yeah, I remember. It was nuts. So David goes and investigates, and he tracks down some interesting characters. Not many people are willing to be video cameraed. And it turns out, he says, that the guys from the original story were crackheads. And a bunch of the people that he had been interviewing were crackheads. And he said, I laughed so hard I almost peed a little bit. He's like, I've never dealt with the ruthless and the toothless. Oh my God, who says that? I wish I would have thought of that on my own. The ruthless and the toothless. That's all Idaho is. Like, there's so many crackheads, it's unreal. So he does find out about a murder that happens along the way. There is this poor man who was murdered in his tent. And so, like, he talks to that guy's niece. There's another murder, but he never finds out who the three he's looking for are. And so what it is Mexican workers would come up from Mexico and work on these pot farms because it was cheap, and it was cheap work. And I guess it was so racially divided up there and so bad that a lot of these pot farmers, knowing that these people's families were back in Mexico, just fucking killed them. So it was free work. Like, and just toss their bodies in the ground, and we're like, oh, dude, the fertilizer next year is solid as fuck. Like, believe me. And that happened a lot. So there's obviously, so he cannot find the three that he's looking for. And I mean, he even gets to the point in like episode 2, the beginning of 3, where he's like, I don't even know if I heard it right. Like, maybe I'm doing this whole thing for nothing. Like, maybe I didn't even hear the right words, see the right thing, hear the right thing, whatever. He starts doubting the whole thing. Well, then he finds out that there's this guy back in the day that everybody called Bigfoot. He was this rough and tough dude who walked around with bare feet, and he had huge feet, and that was his gig. And like, he was like a non-mess with type of guy. And word around the block was that he is the one that had the 3 Mexicans killed by the biker gang up there, by the Hells Angels. And it was all because they violated his daughter in a sexual manner. So David tracks down this dude. And by the way, if I am like spoiling this for you, you might as well just turn it off, because I'm legitly going to tell the whole thing, like what happens. And so anyway, so he finds him, and the wife actually hears that this guy, David's going around talking about her husband. And so she tells the person, she's like, check it. Next time you talk to David, you tell David to call me. And so he does. And the wife's like, listen here, motherfucker. I don't know who, what, or how my husband's name came into your mouth. But no. And so she explains that they weren't even in that area back when this whole thing happened. And then the guy gets on the phone. He's like, yeah, I'm called Bigfoot. Wasn't me. And turns out dude doesn't even have a daughter. So it's like really one of those things, like his name is just bigger than his person. And in the drug world / criminal world, that tends to happen a lot. Dudes' reputations are not really as what they claim to be. Like, I am a solid believer as you are only as good as your word. A man is only as good as his word. If you lie a bunch or like tell a lot of false, you're not a worthy man in my eye. These people agree. This line of work. So the Bigfoot guy is like, hey, fool, it ain't me. Back up off of it. And there's this other guy, but we don't even know what this other dude's name is, because he's so fucking scary, and he is still living up in that area, and he is so scary that people are like, we shall not mention his name. Okay? He looks like he might kind of want to kill you. That's what he looks like. So they don't even tell his name. He's just some crazy dude up in Humble County somewhere. I don't know. They were talking about Big Rock Road or something like that. It's like, I Googled it. It's 14-hour drive from me to there. too long. And so the moral of the story, what it actually comes up being, is what he finds out is back in the day, a bunch of pot farmers got together and they were like, we need to keep these motherfuckers from coming up and getting our shit and taking our, like, because also a bunch of Mexican workers would come up, they would work their way up the chains, they would go and work for old men or whatever, and then just take their farms. And I'm not trying to be racist, that's just legitly how it was. And so they were sitting around smoking pot one day in the 90s in the circle, and one guy in the circle was like, dude, how fucking solid would it be if we had, I don't know, a chupacabra? And they all laugh and everybody's ha ha ha. And then one other stoner, he's like, bro, what if we had a chupacabra? You know what I mean? Like, what if we had a big scary thing that would make it to where these people, nobody, Mexican, white, anybody, would want to come take our shit and mess around. And then all these pot farmers were like, yeah, man, let's do it. And so the one guy, he's like, hey, I got these 3 immigrant workers over at my camp. We'll just fucking tear them apart. And we'll blame it on Bigfoot. And we'll tell the yappers of the mountain, the big mouths of the mountain about it. And they'll do their job, and they'll go tell everybody, and then they'll tell everybody, and then they'll tell everybody, and, you know, so on and so forth. The game of telephone. And that's what it was. Like, that was the whole story, is some hippies back in 1993 sat around and were like, hey, I'm fucking so sick and tired of my shit getting stolen and everything else, and I have to worry about the fucking cops, because at that time they had literally camps, and people were moving up to Humboldt County back in the day, up into this area, kind of to be Little House on the Prairie. Like, that's one way I can describe it to everybody. You go up there, you find your land, you build your home, you farm, you find your water source. Like, that whole thing. You don't have electricity, you don't have Wi-Fi, you don't have law. It's lawless. You are your law. You create your law, and a bunch of other people were like, yeah, sure. And then it just turned out it was really awesome ground for growing pot, and there was money in pot. And back then, some of these pot farms were only as big as like a couple $1,000s. So it really wasn't much that these people were growing. They were just legitimately trying to grow and make a future for their families. And so they were just so sick of it that they were like, let's think this up. And so he even asked, he's like, well, how do you make it look like a Bigfoot did it? And he ends up finding out that there was like legit pliers, saws, all sorts of gruesome. And these 3 dudes who are still nameless, sacrificial lambs. And they were just torn apart. And this guy ruined his crop, some of it. Remember, none of the weed was missing. And told some crackheads, the one guy that was in on it took that one crackhead, the original crackhead, took him there on purpose. Because he is the original jabbermouth. In my group of friends, they would have taken me. Because then I could have told everybody. Because I would have. I tell everybody. If you're like, don't tell nobody. Hands down, I tell my sister. My sister knows your shit. Hands down. Unless it's unless it's somebody's like, don't tell your sister. And you mean it. then I legitly don't if it's not good. Juicy worthy. So they just told the gossip guy, bada bing, bada boom. And literally by the 3rd episode, this David guy is like, I am fucking nuts. Am I or am I not crazy? He wasn't crazy. The story was made up, but he was not crazy. And even if that story was made up, I still believe that there is legit Bigfoot. Okay, so the guy from Pocatello says that if he had to put a number on Bigfoot in Idaho in the episode, he says he would say about 300 live in the state of Idaho. And I know you're going to sit there and be like, well, how come we haven't seen any? How come we've never found a body? Same thing dude said in the movie. When he said it, I was like, aha. You're onto something, good sir. I have never in my fucking life seen a bear. Besides going to Yellowstone or seeing the cute things that Bear World posts or watching a National Geographic, seen a bear. I have spent a lot of time in the mountains of Idaho, in Wyoming, in Montana, Washington. Never seen a bear. I've never stumbled upon a bear. I have never stumbled upon a mountain lion. And we have mountain lions up in the hills that just outside of town. Never seen it. Never. So that's when I gotta argue that. Like, really, how many bear bodies have you seen? How many bear carcasses have you found? And we know that there's thousands of bears. We know it. But we believe it because it's a bear. Nope. I'm sorry. I've always wanted to see the redwoods. I'm assuming they're big, amazing trees, so I'm assuming it's beautiful. But still, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, Oregon, those are woods. Like woods. So I believe it. I believe Bigfoot's there. And so I actually did find a list of the top, like, Bigfoot places. They say number 1 is Washington, number 2 is California, number 3 is Florida. But then I found another list that said number 3 was Wyoming. So I'm going with Wyoming. Number 4, Ohio. Number 5, Illinois. Number 6 is Oregon. Number 7, Texas. Number 8, Michigan. Number 9, Missouri. And number 10 was Georgia. And everybody says that too. That in the South, there's a shit ton of Bigfoot. And I totally believe it. Like, I just believe it. Hands down believe it. True believer. It's such a good show, you guys. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I wish I could give everybody my login information for all this shit when you guys don't have it. Because, like, I know I tell you, obviously, but it's so good. Another show that I cannot review the whole thing of, but it's totally worth watching it and wasting your day on, is Pig Royalty. Don't you dare judge me. Don't you dare. Pig Royalty on Discovery Plus. Solid shit. Solid show. I never knew that pig showing was 1, a thing, 2, gangster as shit, or 3, fun-filled drama. Never. I mean, and there's a bigger gal on the show, and she's like, my shit don't stink. And she has like these 3 gorgeous daughters. And then she has this cute, adorable, little chubby little nephew called Nugget. Legitly his name. And he's precious beyond all belief, and he's a really good pig shower. And then you have the other family, who's kind of like the adorable trailer park version, who's still very talented at pig showing. And it just is a very educational show. My husband made fun of me. New episodes have come. There's only like 6 episodes, and I've wasted my life watching all 6. It's so good. My little sister won't watch it, but she still won't watch The Lion King. Tiger King. She still won't watch The Tiger King either. So, I don't know. It was a good one. Totally go watch it and let me know what you guys think of it. And let me know if you guys even think of Bigfoot, or like Bigfoot are real. If you don't think Bigfoot's real, do you not believe that? Never mind. I'll say mermaids are real. Aliens are real. Like, if you legitimately believe that we are the only people, I think you're dumb. Like, that's just so close-minded. And especially in today's generation, I can identify as anything. So you can't tell me that there's no aliens or a mermaid. There's people who live in a pool all day long, and damn it, if you don't call them a mermaid, you're a racist. So I think 2021 is when everything should just come out of the woodwork. Like, Bigfoot would be welcomed, I think. I think he could go and knock on anybody's door and be like, hey, my family is done hiding. Let's be amongst you people. And there's places that are like, hell yeah, buddy. We built you a house already. So I don't know. It was such a good show. And when you involve Bigfoot, pot, and murder, you got me all day, son. All day. It was good. It was good. I've actually rewatched all 3 episodes about 3 times now. So good. I loved it. And if you have a Bigfoot show or documentary out there that you're like, oh, no one ever really watches this show, no one's ever heard of it, please tell me. Because I want to watch it. But you guys have a blessed week. We are going to do another episode this week. I just didn't have my notes today like I thought I did. I don't. But we're going to do Derek Toddley. Yeah. He's next. So, we're going to do him next. It'll be fun. And there is still plenty of time to get your Mother's Day shout outs in. If you want to shout out your mama, your baby mama, your ex-baby mama, or that side hoe that you just love. My podcast is little. You can give your side hoe a shout out. No one would ever hear it. But her, when you tell her to, it'd be cool. And also, I'll be finding out soon, hopefully, if I made it into like this voting round of a local contest thing that's going on here in Idaho. So if I make it into that, I'm going to need all my Idaho people to go and vote a lot for me so that I can win, because that'd be freaking cool. And I don't know. I messed up. Like, I didn't decide to go for it until the last 3 days. I saw the Jeff and Greg podcast doing it on Facebook and asking people. So I went and nominated them. And you can only do it once a day. And I did a bunch of days on them. And so the last 3, I was like, fuck it. Toss my hat in this. And so I did. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Who knows? I honestly didn't even know there was, as weird as it sounds, other podcasts out of Idaho Falls. So, God bless it. Who knows? But yeah, and then I've also found a bunch of local artists that I have fallen so deeply in love with. Idaho is so talented. Like, my week off of work was fun-filled with just local yumminess in sources of entertainment. Like this guy, Touch. His thing is 208, Touch 208, or 208 Touch. I'm not exactly sure how it goes. But dude is amazing. And then there's this young kid. My little brother hangs out with him and knows him. But his name's like Saint Michael. He's amazing. Been jamming out to his shit. I really can't. Like, he is a fucking adorable, but he is also not of age, so it's a big crime. But he's adorable. And like, there's this other dude named Kato. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, he's amazing. If you find my Facebook page, I've been sharing their music videos. And even if you listen to the Jeff and Greg podcast, their intro song is just amazing. I have no idea who did that, but it's fucking amazing. And I'm just soaking up all this local shit. Like, I love local underground rap stuff. I used to give this guy, when I was a teenager, I used to give him a ride to work on the whole opposite side of town, and I didn't charge him gas money or anything. I'm like, bro, just rap our way there. Like, you rap to me and sing me there. And that's what he did to go to work. So I love it. I love it. Ugh. So yeah, you guys have a great week. And literally find my Facebook. Check out these local artists. I can drop a couple videos in the bio of this thing for you to go and look at on my YouTube. And give them a try. Really. Like, these guys are amazing. Oh, so amazing. And the Touch guy, he is such a fucking sweetheart. Like, he is so nice. And like, I don't know. Sometimes I get discouraged, and he was like, no, bro, just push forward and just keep keeping out. And like, I want to be more polished and just better. And he was like, oh, with time. Because like, he's like, oh, I'll check out your podcast. I don't think his wife liked my podcast, which is cool. Because he was like, she just listens to a whole bunch of other ones that are a lot better. Which is fine, because that's how I found my love for it anyway. Is podcasts that are a lot better than mine. But I'm real, I'm authentic, and I'm adored. So it's fine. So yeah, he is just like a big sweetheart. I don't know. This week was I was miserable. But once again, my local people just brought smiles and laughter and everything else. And I know they listen to this, so that's why I'm complimenting them and just giving them their dues, because it was amazing. And I love it. And then I also got to see a Jeff and Greg live thingy. And I saw this empty chair that one day, I swear, one day I will be cool enough to sit upon it and in it. Upon it? I don't know. Fuck it. I'll sit in it. I know it. One day. And I'll get to bullshit with these people in real life and not just back and forth through our shows. You know. I just think it's cool. I have found more people that I adore, and I just like it. My sister was like, you're kind of creepy with like how much you like people and like their shit and support them when you don't even know them. It's weird. Is it weird when you support somebody without knowing them? I don't think so. Like, I love the shit out of it when people are like, oh, I fucking love her and I've never met her. I'm like, yes, you do. and I love you too. So I don't know. People are now getting to work and like they're looking at me like, why the fuck is she talking to herself in her car? What a weirdo. I am weird. Mind your business. And also, if my old man Jeff hears this, he's my work friend. I've never said his name before, but he's having some scary health things, I guess. I come back and find out, and I'm really nervous for him, so please pray for my friend. And also, at the end of this is my missing brother thing. He is still missing, so please, if you guys, once you hear that, it's pre-recorded. I just added on to the end of my show. Please share his stuff, of course. I really would like to know what happened to him. And honestly, I thought I would be a lot better at finding someone I know who's missing. Maybe it's because I'm not in California. I don't know. But it's hard and it's weird knowing that like your person's just out there. It's weird. So yeah, I don't know. But have a great day. And I know I've tried to end this like 3 times. I swear to God, I'm ending it. And I adore all of you. And Derek Lee Todd coming at you later this week. Bye. And please keep in mind, my brother is still missing. His name is Nikos Tessman. He is 5'11". He has a tattoo across his back that says Ghost. He has dirty blonde hair. He's kind of getting balder, actually. So look for like a bald spot. He likes to skateboard around and ride the bus around California, around the Oakland area, kind of. He was last seen and liked going to Washington Park in Alameda, California. He has not talked to his mother or reached her or done anything since February of 2020. We were involved in asking help from the Oakland Police Department, and that has not gone anywhere. So we have turned to the Sheriff Lumpkin here in Idaho, and she has taken over this, and the number for her is 208-879-2232. If you have any information, you can also contact her on Facebook. It's Sheriff Lumpkin. And once again, his name is Nikos Tessman from the California area. His mother lives in Clayton, Idaho. And we would just love to get any information anybody has out there and just keep his name out there. So if you've seen him, heard of him, anything like that, please let me know. And we truly appreciate everybody sharing it and praying for his safe return. Thank you.